Well, it's been nearly 5 weeks since the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and now after officially playing the Maschine to death with my friends, doing the Easter egg a gazillion amount of times, and fully analyzing the story, I feel confident I have fully formed a justified opinion on the first map that will kick off this year's zombie season. Before I continue though, I should apologize for not having part 2 of the Black Ops 4 Zombies retrospective done. I had the Blood the Dead portion scripted, but that's as far as I am into it. I should have it up eventually. Now back to Cold War. Now the community have been singing this game's praises and have even started to go as far as to say it's better than Black Ops 3. Now I'll say this right now, I think it's way too early in the season to start saying that, but yeah, here goes the Sly and Sonic fan again expressing an unpopular opinion that's the polar opposite than the majority of fans, but I'm sorry guys, I don't know what's with me and the community's differing opinions, but I'm telling you my true feelings here. But without wasting any more of your time, I'm gonna start talking about the first map of Cold War Zombies, the Maschine. Now one thing I really admire about Treyarch is that despite the backlash they usually get for trying to innovate, since the Call of Duty community is mostly comprised of immature children and man-babies, they still took many risks in this season. Now the core gameplay remains the same because, well, it wouldn't be a COD Zombies game if it didn't, but there are a buttload of new innovations. Starting with a familiar feature, let's talk about the weapon customization seen prior in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, which makes a comeback somewhat. See, in this game, you can actually choose to spawn in with any weapon of your choosing. I was initially against this decision because I thought it would ruin the sense of progression the past games have done a great job of doing, but it really doesn't. And it honestly makes part of the game less tedious since you no longer have to rely on box RNG to get a weapon that obviously isn't a one weapon. And this new mechanic is balanced with the tier system. Basically, every weapon excluding one weapons have a chance to be a common, uncommon, rare, epic, or legendary rarity. This new system allows for every weapon to have the potential to be a reliable defense against your undead enemies. And that's probably the best new mechanic this game added, since this is the first COD Zombies game where like 4 out of the 30 plus available weapons in the box aren't the only reliable things to use. And referring back to the new option to choose your starting loadout, the weapon you choose to load in with is instantly a common, so you actually have to work your way up by packing it and upgrading its rarity via an upgrade station. Speaking of the upgrade station, it allows you to craft armor, the new replacement of the shield seen in older zombie games. While I do still miss the nostalgia of the shield, I do think the armor system is better, since not only is upgrading it super rewarding, but you can constantly repair it with a different currency, making it pretty balanced. The different currency I'm referring to is called salvage. There's common salvage and heavy salvage. Depending on which type you have, you can use it to craft useful items or spend it on the upgrade station. Now if it hasn't hit you already, it should be pretty clear that Treyarch has really stepped up their game when it comes to progression. Before, you usually had to rely on an abundance of side quests to keep yourself busy, but now you can upgrade your armor, craft useful equipment, triple pack, and upgrade your weapon tier. And we haven't even gotten to the Arthurium upgrades. Once you start this game up, you can obtain Arthurium crystals to good performance in your matches, and you can use these crystals to unlock permanent upgrades for your perks, weapon classes, and specialist abilities, which I'm about to get into. Now at first I was really down for this idea, but sadly it only took me like a few days of playing to fully upgrade everything I wanted, and it only took a few extra days to fully upgrade everything else. And as of right now, since I have upgraded every single possible thing, I can no longer get any Arthurium crystals. This isn't a problem, but if they add more Arthurium upgrades in the future, that basically means I just got punished for doing everything the game wanted me to. Now time to get into the specialist abilities. See, Treyarch paid attention to all the criticism they got last time around with the specialists being too broken on early rounds, so they made them more tactical this time around, a decision that I thought was a pretty cool one. However, Ring of Fire, Ether Shroud, and Healing Aura are easily the best ones to use, and using the other two will put you at a severe disadvantage. But as for the 3 that will actually prove useful, I think they're good. I mainly run Ether Shroud personally, but all 3 of these upgrades manage to be useful but not at all overpowered. While I had more fun with the insanity of BO4 specialists, these new abilities are definitely a smarter decision. Now that we got all the insane innovations out of the way, let's go over a few more changes so I can actually start talking about the map. First is the point system. Now while the system is definitely better than the one on BO4, they felt the need to tamper with what was, in my opinion, a perfectly good system seen in the older COD zombie games. This time, they have it set to where you only gain points from killing a zombie, and no matter what gun you're using, you'll always gain the same amount of points from each kill. This sounds like a good system, right? Since it basically makes every weapon fair when it comes to points. Well, that's the thing. Now that any weapon can gain a good amount of points, what's stopping you from just simply using a shotgun or an LMG? In the old games, there was always a trade-off. You could use a weak submachine gun to rack up points at the risk of your own safety, or you could use a beast of a weapon instead that would do a good job keeping you safe but lessen the amount of points you'll get. I never saw anything wrong with that system. But now using something like a submachine gun is completely pointless. No pun intended. And I know some of you might make the argument that because of the tier system, using a submachine gun on a high round is no longer an issue. While that may be true, if you had to choose between a triple packed legendary MP5 or a triple packed legendary Howler, which one will you pick? So yeah, again, I felt the treatment of the point system was yet again unnecessarily altered. On a more positive note, Cold War Zombies introduces the idea of limitless perk slots, meaning you can drink as many perks as there are on the map without using a gobblegum or elixir. This removes the restraints the previous games would put you on, and now you can use more than just the main 4 crutch perks. This is actually a genius way of removing crutch perks. Instead of removing them and implementing them in different ways, Treyarch just makes your options limitless. Yeah, it's no surprise, but I'm all for this change. And finally, there's exfil. Now, out of all of the promised features in this game, this was the one I was most disappointed by. See, I was expecting something like a Left 4 Dead type escape sequence or an epic standoff, but instead, we got the most finicky feature in existence. If you're unaware of what exfilling is, it's a new feature that allows you to escape the map on a certain round with better rewards. The execution of this idea was terrible. Basically, you have 2 minutes to get to a specific part of the map and take out a specific number of enemies before you can take off in the chopper. Not only is the amount of enemies it usually gives you is absurd, but more often than not, there'll be 1 or 2 zombies that just don't spawn in on time, causing you to fail. The idea of exfilling should be something that gets my heart racing, but in reality, it's a chore that usually comes down to how lucky your spawns are. So, yeah, I do think the exfilling feature was a missed opportunity. Anyways, I think that concludes my thoughts on all the new innovations this game has to offer, and wow! I just want to give huge props to Treyarch for implementing so many new and exciting ideas in this game. It really did revive the gameplay of the Zombies formula in my eyes, and most of these new ideas are brilliant. This game is by far the most innovative COD Zombies experience by a landslide. Now time to actually talk about the map. Set in the 1980s, Die Maschine takes place in a snowy forest where under Requiem's feet lies an abandoned, overrun facility housing dark and disturbing secrets. Now, graphically, the map doesn't look half bad. I like the peaceful nature of the forest, the overrun and graffitied knocked, and the cold, mysterious presence of the facility. And once you go into the dark ether, the map is transformed into a misleading, beautiful place that is surprisingly well detailed and great to look at. Yeah, this map looks pretty. The soundtrack to Die Maschine is also pretty good. The music can sound nice and peaceful, dark and heavy, or somehow both. And Kevin Sherwood makes his triumphant return of this map's Easter egg zone called Alone. And as always, he produced yet another banger. Now the atmosphere of this map leads to the first problem I have with it. Mind you, this problem is purely subjective and may not bother anyone but me, but I have a problem with its lack of defining atmosphere. Think about the dark, isolated feel of Zetsubou, the chaotic feel of Gorod, the hopelessness and downright satanic feel of Blood, or the peaceful and somber feel of Tog. Those are just a few examples, but do you get what I mean? Most maps we've had in the past had an overall tone it was trying to go for, but this map just feels lifeless tonally and atmospherically. But on a more positive note, one really good thing I can say about this map is its layout. The layout to this map is probably the best thing it has going for it. While I wish it was a little bigger, not only is it easy to learn, but it's really spacious and allows you to move around freely. Yeah, the layout to this map is great. On a complete side note, can people please stop calling this map a Noct remake? Noct is such a small part of this map, and calling this a remake of Noct just does the entire experience a major disservice. Now time for the innovations. Now, I've heard people call this an innovative map, but I couldn't disagree more. Cold War Zombies as a whole is innovative, not the Maschine. Starting with the one weapons, first thing I'll talk about is the ray gun, which has received a well-deserved buff. Seriously, this thing is a killing machine, and for the first time since Black Ops 1, getting the ray gun is such an amazing feeling. And that just makes me, as a longtime fan, so happy. Now for the original one weapon that is named, I kid you not, the Die Machine. Treyarch was insane enough to name a one weapon after its map name. This weapon can suck up Arthurium from the bodies of zombies that can replenish your ammo. Once you have enough energy, the weapon will emit a powerful blast that will annihilate small hordes, which overall makes this a pretty useful weapon. Infinite ammo and decent damage? Yeah, this is the jet gun if it stayed in school. You can upgrade this weapon into 4 different elemental versions through some really easy side quests. And most of the variants kinda suck. The most useless out of the 4 is the fire element, which is literally the base version of the weapon except you have 2 extra shots. After that is the poison, which shoots a gas cloud of nova fire that will kill anything that goes into it. However, the gas cloud doesn't have much of a range and its duration period isn't that long. Second best is the ice element. It emits a continuous beam of energy that freezes zombies. And the obvious best is the electric version, which is the same thing as the cryo one, except it has much more ammo and hits harder. The electric version is my favorite, but it does have a drop-off point around round 30. Yeah, my opinions on this runner weapon is mixed. The initial based version is really cool, and the entire thing is a really cool concept, but the elemental upgrades with the exception of the electric version just isn't worth it. As for the sub-bosses, the Hellhound rounds are now replaced with Plague Hounds, a cool crossbreed between Nova 6 Crawlers and Hellhounds. These are the best dog rounds we've ever had. They're not broken like the ones seen in World at War, but they're not piss easy like the ones in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. Now the main boss of the map is a fun little fellow, the Megaton. Now I absolutely love the concept of this boss. Damaging a boss to the point where they split their bodies into 2 separate entities is awesome. But these guys, at least to me, are annoying to take on. Not only is their spawn rate ridiculous, but they hit hard. And they're bullet sponges. They take so much damage, especially on high rounds. This problem would be fixed if the splitters to the Megaton had lower health as a result of them splitting apart from each other, but no, they're bullet sponges too. So yeah, these Megatons are annoying, and I pray they don't make another appearance in the next map. As for difficulty, yeah, this map is pretty freaking easy. I get it. This map is the start of a new chapter in the Ether universe, and it's trying to be a friendly introduction to newcomers. And the map does do a good job at that. But that doesn't change the fact that this map is boring on high rounds. There's not much to do, and the only thing that can trip you up are the Megatons. Here, this may sound super bizarre, but just stay with me. Let's look at a map like Zombies in Spaceland. In that map, if you were a casual, inexperienced player, there was still a lot of fun you could have. In fact, the map was arguably the map that made me good at zombies. However, if you were already an experienced player, there were a lot of things you could do, like unlock each of the one weapons, get the arcane core upgrades, or even do the Easter egg. The point I'm making is that the map managed to be noob friendly while simultaneously having a lot of things for experienced players to keep themselves busy. The Maschine doesn't have that balance. If you're an experienced player, this map will kinda bore you after a while. Now for the story. The Maschine serves as a fresh reboot of the Ether story seen in Red at War through Black Ops 4, after Dr. Toten concluded the first era of the story. This new chapter, going by the name of the Dark Ether story, follows a team named Requiem. This team comprises of Major Carver, Dr. Gray, Dr. Strauss, and Reaver. Yep, the same Reaver from Black Ops 1. Reaver is the leader of Strike Team, composed of optional operators who are sent to a location known as End Station. Recently, dark ether portals have been materializing all around the world, causing outbreaks in specific areas, and End Station is where the first dimensional rift was created. This program was reactivated by a KGB group known as Omega Group, the rivals of Requiem. As you collect intel, you learn more about the specifics of End Station and the creation of the first dimensional rift. Honestly, this is not a bad concept for a rebooted story. It's simple, goes back to focusing on war politics just like the series' roots, and it still respects the beautiful bittersweet ending Todd gave us. However, that's not to say it's perfect. Not having any main playable characters anymore does do a heavy blow to the game's narrative, and the side characters aside from Samantha and Dr. Vogel haven't caught my interest. But the story is off to a strong start, and if you want to learn more about what has been revealed so far, it would mean a lot if you could go and check out the story explanation video I made. But if you simply don't want to because you want something more professional, I'd recommend Mr. Waffle's video. Now for the Easter egg. What a joke. I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean here, but wow, we are back to the Black Ops 1 days when it comes to the main Easter egg quest. To give you an idea of its length, it was solved in 2 hours and someone managed to speedrun it in just 18 minutes. There's barely any steps and I could probably beat this thing in 35 minutes if I really tried. And I've never attempted a COD zombie speedrun in my life. I have no idea why they made this Easter egg so short and easy, but it's very underwhelming to say the least. But hey, the boss fight and the last minute exfil are pretty exciting and fun, so I guess the egg can have that going for it. In conclusion, Maschine is a great introduction, but not by any means a masterpiece. The layout is great and the story is somewhat interesting, but the atmosphere and tone is boring, there's not too many things to do, and the few things you can do aren't very well rewarding, and the main Easter egg is pretty lackluster. I get people say this map is super innovative, but the map isn't innovative, the game's new mechanics are. Despite my gripes though, I still like Maschine. It's a fun, laid-back map meant to welcome newcomers, and while it could have done more of the story, side quests, and Easter egg to win me over, I'll give this map the benefit of the doubt since it's meant to be more noob-friendly, and once new maps release, this one might be fun to come back and revisit. I personally think I should give this map a 3 out of 5, but once more content comes out and my hunger for hardcore zombie maps is satisfied, I might regret my decision, so I'm giving Maschine a 4 out of 5. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, then please like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you guys next time.